Hi, my name is Robin Coates, and my pioneer of education psychology was on Jerome Bruner. He was a psychologist, researcher, and an educator. His many contributions in a number of areas include memory, learning, perception, and cognition. I read an interesting article on the Exploring Your Minds website. It talked about 9 theories for better education. He is known as one of the authors of a revolution in cognitive psychology. He advocated for a discipline based on cultural psychology. He researched the implications of cultural psychology on education. Perspectivism. He believed that all knowledge creation is relative to the perspective on which it is built. Perspectivism is one of the main ideas behind his concepts. Meanings are not absolute or objective. The next theory is theory of limits. That means existing limitations on meaning making. He talked about 2 important limits that come into play when we make meaning. First is the way human beings work, and the second alludes to the constraints that the symbolic system imposes. It affirms that language affects the way you express or formulate thoughts. Then there is constructivist theory. Society should base education on helping children acquire the cultural tools they need to make meaning in a critical and adaptive way. The interactional theory is interrelated to the gift of language. It's the exchange of knowledge, supposed the existence of an interacting community of people. Children learn about their culture and worldview from their interaction with others. Then you have externalization theory. It's based on the idea that the goal of a collective cultural activity is to create works or external products. Its benefit is creating a social identity. This fosters a collective solidarity. Externalization theory uses externalizations, like books, and it's the basis of the education system. Then there's instrumentalist theory. This is a theory that emphasizes that education is never neutral. It always has social and economic consequences. Then you have institutional theory. Its education becomes institutionalized in the developed world. Its goal is to prepare children to take a more active part in their institutions related to culture. There's also the identity and self-esteem theory. It's where education plays an important part of one's self-awareness and one's self-concept. It helps to develop their self-esteem. The narrative theory essentially is part of this process, like a narrative capacity where we create stories. So it helps with children's imaginations. This is what I found out about his early life and his career. It was really interesting reading about him as a history minor and learning that he lived to be 100 years old. The stories which this man could have told about different decades was just unimaginable. He was born on October the 1st, 1915. That was a really long time ago. He lived 100 years on this earth. He was married 3 times and had 2 children, a boy and a girl, and 3 grandchildren. He published many books throughout his career. He made many contributions to education. He graduated from Duke in 1937 with a bachelor's degree. Then he went on to Harvard and got his master's and his PhD. After that, he went and tried to get into the military during World War II. But they wouldn't take him because of his eyesight. Even though he had cataract surgery when he was younger, they still wouldn't take him. But he was drafted into the Office for Strategic Studies. And I found that really fascinating. Here, he was married to Catherine Frost first, and he met her at Harvard. Then he was married to Blanche Ames Marshall, and his last wife was Carol Fieldman, and she passed away. So he would have still been married to her after, when he passed away. He received 24 honorary doctoral degrees from universities around the world. And most of these were very popular universities. He was also given several awards for his contributions to the field of psychology. He also wrote many books about his research that he did. He returned to Harvard in 1945 as a faculty member, and he conducted research with Leo Postman. He also became involved with cognitive psychology. In 1952, he was a professor at Harvard, and then in 1960, he co-founded the Harvard Center of Cognitive Studies. The research he did focused on cognition and helped end the dominance of behavioralism. In 1972, he went to England, to Oxford University, and conducted research on children's language. He stayed there for 8 years, and then he returned to the United States to work at the New School in New York City. By 1981, he was teaching at New York University, mainly at the School of Law. I really couldn't find out much about his late life other than he taught until he was 98 years old, and that he died on June the 5th of 2016. He was 100 years old. Influences on current teaching practices. One influence he did was spiral curriculum. He did not believe children have to reach a particular age or maturational level in order to grasp concepts. He is quoted as saying, "Any subject can be taught effectively in some intellectually honest form to any child at any stage of development." Spiral curriculum is the same subject matter taught at various levels with increasing depth and breadth. I remember learning, like English, your verbs and such. You learn that every year, and every year it is taught at a higher level. Then there is scaffolding. which is believed that child's social environment plays a critical role in learning. Adults can provide a scaffold in various ways. Here are some examples. Helping children to maintain interest in the task at hand. Drawing their attention to important bits of information they might have overlooked. Breaking down complex tasks into smaller, more manageable ones. Modeling certain aspects of a skill to be learned. Explaining unfamiliar terms. Highlighting errors. Providing prompts or hints. Okay, let's go back. Breaking down complex tasks into smaller, more manageable ones. You can break up a chapter of a science book to do just one lesson. That would help children. He also came up with discovery learning. It allows children to construct their own knowledge. Discovery learning he promoted by children learning through engagement, experimentation, and exploration. He was a very interesting man, and he shaped the way we teach today.